Hey, good afternoon. My name is Clarence DeBose, and my this is my presentation on the big picture on technology in education. Technology has come a long way from the 1950s to the present time. Uh, Technology has evolved in various aspects from the hardware, software, and even technical devices such as the iPad or the Windows tablet, but also it's helping to it's helping students learn in many ways while addressing their learning needs, and also it helps the teacher to enhance their teacher skill set or adding on to the skill set if they never have before. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Now, chapter one overview, it provides like an important framework for viewing the field and consists of key terminology, reflections of the past, considerations about the present, and a look ahead to the future. Now, we have five perspectives that will help today's educational technology. Number one, we have the educational technology as communications media. Now, that's originally represented by the Association for Educational Communications and Technology, or the abbreviations AECT. Educational technology as an instructional system and instructional design. Now, that's represented by the International Society for Performance Improvement, and the abbreviations is SPISPI, excuse me. Educational technology is also used as vocational training. That's represented by International Technology Engineer Educators Association, as abbreviation ITEEA. Educational technology is also as computer systems, aka educational and instructional computing, original represented by International Society for Technology in Education, as ISTE. And last but not least, it serves as a learning science, originally represented by International Society of Learning Sciences, abbreviation ISLS. Now, let's get into this. What is educational technology? Now, educational technology is a field of study that investigates the process of analyzing, designing, developing, implementing, and evaluating the instructional environment and learning material in order to improve teaching and learning. Now, we've heard these words before: analyzing, designing, developing, and implementing, and evaluating. Those are words from what? Can we say Bloom's taxonomy? The type of keywords that we use when we add like our standards. Whether we use those words while we're writing our standards, while we post them on the board, or we put them in our lesson plans when we're being evaluated by our administrators or peer teachers. Now, the technology resources also leverage to support educational process that involve in addressing teaching and learning. Now, the integrated process is identifying educational problems of practice and matching those with technological resources as possible solutions, using the resources as education technology in the classroom, along with assessing impact on the identified problems that our students may be dealing with. Now, for example, when you look at this picture here, it starts up to the top. your administration team. Now that consists of your principal, vice principal, guidance counselor, your curriculum instructor, whoever may be, whoever is your leadership at your school. Then it trickles down to the teachers. That's where we come in. They want a plan to put in, the administration wants a plan to be put in place. We as teachers, we have to implement that plan. Using the necessary information such as data. Now that could be coming from your grades, that could be coming from standardized testing, or your informal or formal assessments, or even authentic assessments that you have given your students. So to assess their progress of learning. Then you have the assessment, the understanding the progress, and then you're putting that into action. Now, for example, we have that students like grade levels from 6th, 7th, and 8th for the ELA, math, mostly ELA and math, because based on the data now from our school, those are basically the weakest areas. So in turn, the students will have a program called IXL or Nordink, but I'm gonna explain that later on. But to sum it up, what the leadership and the teachers will like is for extra practice. So the more practice the students get in solving their problems, the better off they'll be. I hear like a term like practice makes permanent. Yeah, I know it will say practice makes perfect, but also the more practice they get, the better they perfect the learning process. Now, speaking of programs, we have the digital technology. The hardware, 7 types of technology are commonly used in or support today's classroom, including the network. Of course, you got the server around the district. You have your computers. Some have computers. Handheld technology devices, such as iPads, tablets, or learning devices, or just anything, handheld microphones, anything they use that can help the student learn better and while addressing the learning needs. You got displays technologies. Now that can be like an LCD projector where you use like a adapter from your computer and they'll transfer it onto a screen, well, like mine's in the back, or even to like a smart board. Imaging technologies, that was like visual images that or videos, such as you can get those from YouTube, Vimeo, or Edpuzzle. And also, well, external storage, where basically you can store like information, like let's just say for like an assessment, like even like Kahoot, where you give your students like maybe an interactive quiz, and then after they finish the quiz, they give the data, and then you can assess it. That's how the advancement as how digital technology has been, as far as digital technology has been advanced. Now you got software such as I just mentioned, like Kahoot. Like educators, they use productivity, instructional, and administrative software for teaching and learning activities. Now, for in my case, you have like Sketches School, which is a illustrative application that students can use to create different works of art without all the physical without all the physical handling of a pencil or a color pencil, marker, paint. GIMP is like another, it's like a generic version of Photoshop. Now Canva is pretty good, especially when you're trying to teach your kids how to complete, you can put photo images, like a photo layout, or if a student needs to create a brochure, this is a very good program right here for uh, not just our teachers, but any teachers in general. And they can incorporate their pictures. They can place the typefaces. It'll tell like the sub. It's like you get the main title, subtitle, everything is organized, and then the kids can be very creative with this. And of course, you have Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. Those are basically my personal favorites. Now, however, they can be expensive. And also, you may be in a school district where the funding is limited or no funding at all, especially to support these two programs, because I have it and I'm paying maybe like $30 a month. So that's an investment I'm willing to make, but I can't speak for other teachers as well. So these are basically like generic versions, and mostly the free. Now, of course, if you want the advanced stage, it's going to have to be a little extra. Also, you have technology support, expertise, resources. Now, resources that can be found among supportive staff, your school leaders, parents, students, as well as in technology policies and procedure documents. Um, I threw in a couple examples like Remind, because Remind is a very good text advice for communication. Um, your 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 students, your parents, they can use those to the best. They can use those like if you want to send in post announcements, you can send it from your computer. It'll go straight to their phones or email. Power School is always the main one because it always posts their grades, and sometimes the students and also parents, they'll check on those religiously to check on their grades. You also have something like Apple and Google Documents, where basically, like with the technology devices that the students have, the teachers can keep an eye and monitor their progress just to be sure that they are in compliance of what they're doing when they're using the technology devices. Now that can be an iPad, that can be like a MacBook Air, a PC computer, Dell, Hewlett Packard, whatever. Uh, as I mentioned before, technology has come a long way. So basically, this is how the past shapes and the present and the future. Now, the education technology comprised of five different eras. You got the mainframe, like in the 1950s to the 1970s. That could be something similar to like an overhead projector. And you remember like where your teacher, they'll write the notes on the overhead projector, they'll write the notes and they'll have it on display for you to copy word for word. You got the microcomputer era, where I would say this is pretty much like in the early stages, like Apple computers or like Windows, where the graphics are not as good, but you can see maybe like the little black and green graphics on there, where if you remember the Oregon, y'all remember the Oregon Trail, something to that. I do. And then in the 90s, you have the internet era, where anything that you want to go to, you can touch it. Like basically, if I want to go to find scores on like an NBA game, I could type in www.nba.com. By the way, of course, just in case if you don't know, www, I mean the three W's, www means World Wide Web. Okay. And then, so that's basically what that means is it's available everywhere, not just the US, but all over the world. Then you have now with mobile technology, social media, and open access from 2001 and continuing. So basically, you got the social media era where at one point MySpace was a big thing, especially around 2003, 2004. Then Facebook came along. Then you have other outlets such as TikTok, Snapchat. I mean, there's just many countless. Oh, Instagram, Twitter. It just has everything on it. I mean, social media is just wide open now in this time frame. You also have like the personalized adaptive learning era, which is from 2008 and continuing. So now technology has created programs and devices that are equipped to handle learning, the learning process of the student, and to enhance the teacher's um, ability to teach, enhancing their skills. But we have learned that the following from the history of technology in education. Now, technology is a panica for education. Now, the teachers usually do not develop the materials or the curriculum. Now, technically possible, they do not equal desirable, feasible, or inevitable. Now, technology can change faster than teachers can keep up. Older technologies can be very useful, like the LCD projector, or even just like a post up a screen, and you can put like a PowerPoint together, maybe a few YouTube clips, and you're good to go. And teachers can always be more important than technology, which is true because you have to think about it. No matter how advanced technology can be, you always got to consider that that the computer cannot do anything unless you're equipped to tell it what to do. Just remember that. I mean, like if you want to learn how to draw a picture on Illustrator or Sketch at school, you need the fundamental ability to draw, to color, and create. So you'll be able to apply it on to the digital screen. It's just that simple because it can't do it by itself. Or in this case, for education, like let's just say for like the programs, IXL, the computer can only help, the computer only is there to help you assess what you know. But you have to put, but the students have to put the knowledge and the work in order for the computer or their technical devices to say you got it right or you got it wrong. Okay, if you have it wrong, this is what you should have done. But still, by the end of the day, that a teacher knowledge is still as valuable as just as any technology. Okay, now today's educational technology standards and teaching competencies, excuse me. You have the Common Core standards, which they are state-specific standards and national content standards, all containing ways that digital technologies are involved in the subject area content proficiencies. You also have the IST standards and for students and educators. Now, the 21st century skills for students and teachers and the ICT competency for framework and teachers that can address and expected technological knowledge, skills, and attitudes for students and teachers. Then you have the TPACK framework that provides educators a common vision for language, for the technological knowledge and assess when designing and integrating technology in the classroom. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this. Now, this is basically the Common Core standards. So you have, well, this is for for your teachers, students, or educators, whatever the case. You can explore the Common Core, read the standards. You can click here. They got English language arts literacy standards. You can scroll down here. It explains everything with the purpose of for the purpose of the standards. And you can also go here for English ELA standards. You go here from kindergarten to grade 12. introduction, anchor standards. You have reading literature, reading informational text, foundational skills, writing, and so forth. And you scroll all the way down to history, social studies, ELA appendix, other stuff for the ADA. If you want to download the standards, you click on here. So you can blow it up and it can be posted up. There you go. Everything off of the table contents, even with English language arts, literacy, history, social studies, science, and technical subjects. Now let's go to the ISTE standards for students and educators. Should be loading up. There we go. So you got standards for students, educators, and educational leaders. So let's just click around here for educators. It provides everything that you need to know. Like if you are a learner, you hit this plus button. It gives you, like you said, professional learning goals, pursue professional interests by creating, actively participating in local global networks, and so forth. For leader, it gives you basically everything from what to be an advocate for equitable access, meet colleagues for identification, exploration, evaluation, curation, and adaptation of new digital resources for learning. So basically, everything else is all in detail. So I'll provide the links for you during class on Wednesday. And finally, we have the TPACK framework. Yes, which is a content knowledge framework. It provides everything that you need. Scroll down from the basics right here, especially here, the framework from the content knowledge. Then this is basically the whole concept map of the TPACK. Pedagogical knowledge, content knowledge, technological knowledge, everything that you need. They'll give you more information and then some. Now, with today's education technology that's shaping technology integration. So we have educational conditions such as leadership, vision, digital literacy, and digital citizenship, optimal technology-based pedagogy, and reliance on online and opportunity learning. So I would say during the beginning of the school year, we teach digital citizenship to our students for them being respectable citizens while using those devices. Anything that could help. So number one, they could address stopping bullying, like cyberbullying, be responsible, respectable. Also, there's political conditions such as visionary technology, national, state, and local policies. Both teachers and students must be accountable for the quality and progress and consistent adequate technology funding. Also, they'll have technical conditions using technology infrastructure, technology support, malware, viruses, spam, and hacking activities. I can also say, because mostly our school district server is pretty good at blocking certain inappropriate websites that kids do not need to get into. Now, you notice, let's see, let me go back. Right here where it says students using proxies to visit Block's website. Now, back in 2011-12 school year, I was at Lee County School District. And of course, all the server blocked all the websites that students love to get in, like Facebook. Facebook was still big at the time, and or YouTube or whatever the case. And I remember students were using these proxies that they can bypass the server and they can log in to the computer, so they can visit their websites. Now, that's something that that teachers, and I guess in district, needs to be aware of, especially with teachers, is to be aware about watching, monitoring the kids for their progress. Now, also, we got social conditions related to privacy, health, multitasking, online behavior, and community engagement. Now, of course, with social media being being a big thing among technology and also among our kids, but it's also us that we have to teach them how to be respectable, responsible citizens when they're handling social media. Social media can be also a great tool, but also we have to keep in mind that social media can also be a terrible, not invaluable tool for badness. So I would say inappropriateness behavior, because social media is very broad. And then of course, if it's tagged out to certain people, it can affect their mental health as well as their physical health. You got also equity, cultural conditions, digital equity, racial and gender equality. Equity, I'm sorry. And also equity for students with special needs. And also legal and ethical issues such as academic honesty, privacy, safety, responsible use, and legal activities. I put this in an example for like students using cell phones to cheat on exams or homework. Now you'd be surprised of how students will use their cell phones to, number one, they'll take pictures of the homework or the test, they'll copy it, and they'll send a text to their friends. And next thing you know, they already they passed the answer, they are passed the test, and the teacher doesn't even know it. But at the same time, just like any other case, that we have to teach the students to be honest with their academics, but also in willing that teachers also have to know their students as well too. They have to know their learning process and their learning behavior, because once they do that, they'll basically know that, wait a minute, this cannot be like I know they couldn't solve this problem by themselves or the length of time they solve it. So also teachers have to be very mindful of cell phones, because students like to be very slick, especially with the cell phones. Either like they'll have it underneath their table without you knowing it or stuff. As soon as your back is turned, they'll use it again. So monitoring is very important as well too, because last thing they need to do is to cheat and be dishonest, especially using technology. If they get caught and then there's proof that they've been caught, that's a big deal. We have emerging trends in technology resources. Now, the trends levered by hardware and software innovations. Now, they include e-text and e-books. They also have open content and ubiquitous mobile computing robotics, such as coding, um, smartwatches. They got learning analytics, augmented reality systems, wearable technology, as I mentioned with the smartwatch, gesture-based computing. Now, they also have educational trends that are leveraged by hardware and software innovation that include marker space and computing thinking, online learning, massive online courses, immersive physical and virtual environments, games and gamifications, personalizing learning, and increased educational options for students with learning needs. So, to sum this up, technology will always going to continue to expand. It's being very beneficial to us as teachers. It makes our job a lot easier. It helps the students to be more engaged in collaboration while they're learning with their learning needs while their learning needs are being addressed. But we also have to be considerate of one thing. Now, to summarize a quote from a superhero movie. Now, with the great power comes great responsibility. But we also have to remind our students that while the technology help make our life and our educational learning process easier, but we also have to be respectful for others, respectful for the teachers and policies, and also to be responsible for using the technology while they're in school. And technology will continue to expand based on what the learning needs or what the teacher needs. But we as teachers have to still teach our students the ability to operate the technology, because it's one thing to hand a student the technology, but it's other that with guided practice, independent practice, they'll be able to master it just like they would any other lesson. My name is Clarence DeBose, and this is my Chapter 1 presentation. Thank you.